Hi there, friends and neighbors. I'm going to show you now how to create a scale from multiple items in your data set, which you can then use as a new variable in your regression or your ANOVA or whatever analysis you have in mind. Um, Now, the way this works is, in social science research, very often you will ask multiple questions that are intended to assess a single underlying construct. And this is by design. Frequently we have in mind that we're going to aggregate those raw scores called indicators in some way. A more advanced method than we're going to do here would be to use a latent variable analysis of some kind, like structural equation modeling or factor analysis, which will give weights, different weights to each individual variable, the variables being called indicators, and then you add those weighted scores. So it's a weighted average, essentially. But we're going to do something much simpler. We're just going to do a simple, straightforward average, where I'm going to average all the items together if they represent the same underlying construct. And what this does is reduce the variation, so I end up getting a tighter measure of my underlying construct. So it's a good way to conduct research. So what we've got here with Team Wave have asked people about workplace stress, and they're using a 5-point scale, which I've got the numerical representations of those variables here. And so we've got lots of variables that assess stress. Making mistakes at work causes me stress. A lack of work-life balance causes me stress, and so on. Well, they've got variables that assess stress, and they've got variables that assess reduction in stress. And so what we're going to do is average together these stress variables, and we're going to average together the reducing stress variables. We'll do that one second because it requires something interesting called a reflection. But let's start with the stress ones. So I look at these questions and see which ones have to do with causing stress. Column T, U, managing my manager's behavior increases my workplace stress. Expectations increase my workplace stress. Company culture increases my stress, and amount of time I spend working increases stress. And now I feel my employer is not open to my suggestions is different. It doesn't say anything about stress. So I'm going to just average together S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, okay, but not Z. Okay, here's double A, another one that causes stress, so double A. AB is reducing stress, so respect for manager would reduce my job stress. Nope. AC, lack of personal control causes me stress, so AC is going to get tossed in. AD, clearer job responsibilities would make my job less stressful, so I'm going to put that on another scale. And then something else would reduce my stress. So it looks like we're going to be averaging together S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, double A, and AC. And so you simply write a function in Excel that averages those. You say equals average, and you type in these, or you can click on the cells you want to click on. This is in row 2, so it's average S2, comma, T2, U, V, W, X, Y. You separate them by commas, and then you hit enter, and you copy this and select the entire row or entire column and paste, and it will just copy so that the last one is S104, T104, U104, and so on. And so this new variable is an average of all the other stress-related variables in the data set. That's how that works. We're going to do something similar for reduce stress. Those, if we read them, we'll see those are columns AB, AD, AE. But then something interesting over here, there's one question that's different from any of the others, and that is, I feel my employer is not open to suggestions. All right. So if you wanted to, let's say, put that in with your stress-reducing variable, you could do that by reflecting it. That is, right now, it's if you give a 5, that means that you think your manager is not open to suggestions. But if I wanted to turn it into a question of whether my manager is open to my suggestions, all I have to do is 6 minus whatever this score is, because it's scored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, And so if I make it 6 minus 5, that becomes a 1. 6 minus 1 becomes a 5. That's called reflection. I'm going to call that suggestions reflect, R for reflect. That equals 6 minus Z2. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to copy that, go down to the bottom of the data set and paste it. Okay, so what I've done now is created a new variable that reflects this. And we have to watch out for possible missing observations. For example, if this first one were missing, it would be a bad thing because Excel would think that counts as a 0 and it would make it 6. So here's a little trick. Make your function a little more complicated. Say if Z2 equals blank, then leave it blank, comma. So if Z2 equals quote, quote, comma, quote, quote, that says if this is true, if it is blank, then leave it blank. Otherwise, compute 6 minus Z2. Close your parenth and hit enter. Copy that, paste it on all of the data, and now it works just fine. Okay. All right. And now this variable could be averaged together with these others. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to make reduce stress 2, I'll call it. And that is average of AB, AD, AE, and this new variable I just created, AI2. Copy that, put it all the way down, and there we go. That is how you make a scale. Now you are ready to use one of these variables for your regression or your ANOVA or whatever you want to do. That's how you make a scale.